Hello everyone. Welcome to Bahal Recap. Today we are reviewing 2024 thriller movie named Greedy People. Please subscribe the channel and like the video. Let's get started. In a small town called Providence, a couple had just settled into their new home, awaiting their first child. Willie, the newly appointed district officer, had been assigned to the area. On his first day, Captain Ann introduced him to his partner Terry, who boasted over 16 years of experience on the force. She left them to become acquainted. Terry eyed Willie's red eye suspiciously, hoping it wasn't contagious, before they set off for town duty. Terry dominated the conversation, bragging about his cop prowess and how he dodged costs. They swung by a store, snagged a coffee without paying to emphasize his point, and then headed to Terry's girlfriend's place. Terry instructed Willie to keep watch for the husband, who was oblivious to the affair. At home, Terry's wife, despite her pregnancy, insisted on decorating alone. Heading to the store for groceries, she encountered a mysterious man. Curious, she asked the clerk about him. The clerk informed her that the man was someone you called when you needed a job done. While Terry was engaged in an affair with the married woman for hours, Willie received a radio call about an 11 to 15 situation nearby. He attempted to reach Terry, but as fate would have it, the husband returned home, mistaking Willie at the door as his wife's lover. With little choice, Willie drove off to fulfill his duty. Upon reaching the location, Willie noticed the open door and assumed a threat. Swiftly, he drew his gun and entered. Unaware, a woman was cooking with headphones, bending to fetch debris with a knife. In reflex, Willie fired, narrowly missing her. Infuriated by the gunfire, she retaliated by striking him before ambushing Willie, choking him. Nearing unconsciousness, he fell, spotting her beside him in blood with a wooden fragment in her head. Startled and unsure of his next move, Willie was met by Terry, still elated from his scandalous encounter. Sensing Willie's agitation, Terry inquired, only to be directed upstairs. Finding the deceased, Terry, initially intent on reporting, refrained given his off-duty affair timeline. In frustration, he kicked a basket revealing scattered money. Urgently, Terry urged Willie to hide any traces and act oblivious. The duo trashed the house to make it look like a break-in, and then drove to a roadside pretending to be on duty. Officer Terry ended up booking a woman he had previously had an affair with for going 4 miles over the speed limit. As they received a call from their radio transmitter about the homicide, they drove to the scene where they met Captain Ann and the husband of the deceased woman. The husband was clearly shaken and pleaded with the officers to find the murderer and make them suffer. He also revealed that his wife had a masseur who came to their home, suggesting that they begin their investigation there. The duo gets to Terry's stash house, where he stored some of his belongings. He puts the money there and was about to lock it when Willie asked for the key lock code. Terry gave it to him, telling him that he could trust him, and they both promised not to tell anyone about the money. They agreed to share it once everything had blown over. That night, Willie came home feeling uneasy and told his wife everything, this time blaming Terry as the killer. She said she needed to meet Terry to find out if he was someone they could trust. Meanwhile, at a bar, Captain Ann was approached by the woman Terry had issued a ticket to for speeding. She complained about Terry being a bad cop for giving her a ticket for going only 4 miles over the speed limit. Captain Ann apologized on his behalf and promised it wouldn't happen again. She noticed the time on the ticket overlapped with the homicide and found it suspicious. On the day of the homicide, the police don't see the masseur, who witnesses the act and sneaks out the window. As they question him, he pretends to know nothing, saying he's simply the masseur of the deceased woman, only giving her massages and performing for her amusement. Deciding he's not a threat and can't be linked to the homicide, they leave. Outside, Willie invites Terry for dinner that night. Meanwhile, Chetlo, the husband, returns home from work to find his wife lying in a pool of her own blood. But he doesn't react. It's revealed that he's having an affair with his secretary and originally intended to plan his wife's death with his girlfriend. A call arrives from the hitman assigned to execute the job, asking to meet. At the hitman's garage, he explains that when he arrived at the house, he found his wife dead but couldn't find the money. Frustrated, he suspects Mr. Chetlo contacted someone else for the job. Mr. Chetlo denies this, insisting he's only been dealing with him. The hitman demands payment regardless. But Mr. Chetlo lacks the funds, so he's given 48 hours, or else he'll end up next to his wife 6 feet under. That evening at dinner, the partners discuss policing. Terry shares why he became a police officer. Having been bullied in childhood, he wanted to grow up to enforce the law. Willie's wife, Paige, recounts how a police officer relative accepted bribes and engaged in corruption. Terry then realizes Willie betrayed his trust by sharing this with his wife. He's ready to leave when the sound of a dog whining is heard outside. They rush out and find their dog dead on the ground. Paige cries bitterly. The following day at the police station, Terry apologizes to Willie for last night, hoping it won't stop their friendship. In the captain's office, she informs them about evidence from the crime scene. The deceased had a large life insurance policy and the husband's infidelity. They need to investigate his lifestyle for incriminating evidence. While in the cemetery, mourning her dead son, the captain receives a tip-off about the two officers, Terry and Willie. The investigation obviously shows the prints of the officers all around the place. Next, he questions the duo about it, and they lie that before the incident, they were in her house for a cup of coffee and left afterwards, only to hear about the news of the death. On the other side, terrified Paige, Willie's wife, visits a store where she usually gets her groceries and takes the number of a hitman she meets at a coffee shop. She asks for Terry to be killed to prevent any harm from coming to her husband, offering to pay the significant amount needed to murder a police officer. Pregnant Paige heads to the starch house where the money is kept. She can open it since her husband gave her the code. She takes all the money, uses some to pay the hitman through a mailbox labeled The Irishman. Chetlo is terrified about dying, as he can't afford the $1 million demanded by the hitman. He considers selling his house and boats to pay the debt. Deborah tries reasoning with him, suggesting the masseur may have taken the money since he's the only one with access to their home, and speculate that he might be having an affair with a spouse. Terry arrives home that evening and is attacked. He fights back, almost getting choked to death until his lover shoots at the attacker. Quickly, Terry ties a rope to the hitman's leg and tosses an anchor down the river, drowning him. Meanwhile, Willie couldn't sleep, struggling with suspicions after seeing the masseur grab some tools from the store the day before. He heads to the masseur's house to watch and sees him trying to leave with his mom. Then, Chetlo appears, and a heated argument erupts. Chetlo pulls a gun and threatens to shoot, but the masseur's mom quickly shoots Chetlo, killing him instantly. Deborah immediately draws her gun and kills both the masseur and his mom, while Willie watches, oddly entertained. Willie leaves, but doesn't realize he's being followed. Finds Terry bleeding profusely. Terry then aims a gun at him, threatening to shoot, thinking Willie was behind an earlier attack on him. Terrified, Willie urges Terry to lower the weapon and starts explaining the grisly scene he stumbled upon, claiming they're finally free and can now split the money. Terry remains unmoved and keeps Willie at gunpoint, insisting he drives to the stash house. At the same time, Captain Murphy monitors them through her computer, curious about their activities, and decides to track them. When they arrive at the stash house, Terry orders Willie to open the container, only to discover the money missing. Willie, bewildered, insists he hasn't been back since their initial visit. Terry, however, suspects his wife has taken it. He admits to killing their dog as a warning to his wife not to cross him, yet regrets she doesn't heed warnings. He commands Willie to call his wife about the missing money, instructing him to put the conversation on speaker. Paige admits she took the money to protect him from Terry because Terry killed Mr. Chetlo's wife. After realizing Willie falsely accused him as the murderer, he shoots Officer Willie, killing him on the spot. Meanwhile, Captain Murphy arrives at the scene only to discover the body. On the other side, Paige is about to flee town with the money when she gets a call from Captain Murphy. She urges her to confess everything. She confesses to Captain Murphy that Terry murdered Mr. Chetlo's wife and Willie found out, which is why he killed him. Captain Murphy immediately sends out a radio call to all on-duty officers to be on alert for Officer Terry, treating him as armed and dangerous. They must approach with caution, treating him as a wanted criminal. By this time, Terry is clearly furious as he hears the broadcast. There is heavy traffic that evening, but Terry spots Paige easily. She manages to escape by striking him with the car door. Terry fires at her several times, yet she escapes unharmed. Her condition is worsening and she runs through the traffic with Terry in pursuit. She stops to catch her breath because of her condition and awaits what comes next. Terry tells her he wasn't the killer, but her husband. She doesn't believe him. Captain Murphy aims his gun at Terry, urging him to drop his weapon. But Terry continues talking. Given no choice, Captain Murphy shoots him, killing him instantly. Paige has given birth and is resting in the hospital bed. She wakes up to find Captain Murphy and asks her for the truth about everything. But Captain Murphy says she doesn't know much. At that moment, a hitman dresses as a hospital cleaner and comes in. Seeing them talk, he leaves. Captain Murphy pleads with Paige again to come clean for her son's sake, but Paige insists. Captain Murphy leaves to bring her child. The hitman uses this chance to kill Paige and take the money. As he gets into the elevator, a mysterious woman joins him. It's Deborah. The elevator door opens behind Captain Murphy, revealing the two lying dead on the floor with money scattered all over the elevator. Before the film ends, it is revealed Captain Murphy adopted Willie's child and now cares for him.